Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. We'll call the meeting of the New Ulm City Council to order. Item number 1, consent agenda. Councilors, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Item number 2, a public hearing on the final plat of Milford Heights, 6th edition.
Madam President, members of the City Council, Dave Schnoberg, Community Development Director. The plat has been submitted by Al Paler on behalf of SP Development LLC. The current legal description of the property is part of Lot 1, Block 2, 5th North Street, 1st Edition. The street address is 648 to 685 Haberly Avenue. Property is generally located north of Beinhorn Street, west of Fender Drive, and south of 7th North Street. The City Council approved the preliminary plat with conditions at your July 5th, 2022 meeting. The platted area totals 5.03 acres. The plat would consist of 2 blocks with 7 lots in each block and Haberly Avenue separating the platted lots. All of the platted lots abut an alley. The alleys though are not part of this plat. They were previously platted with other subdivisions. So the plat will create 14 single-family lots. Property is zoned R1. All of the lots comply with city code requirements. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the final plat with conditions at its July 28th meeting. The recommended conditions are that the applicant pay the platting fee of $595, that the applicant owner enter into a development agreement for the property, and that is an item that's on the agenda later on. And then finally, that the owner provide documentation that the individuals signing the plat are the lawful representatives or owners of the property. I would note that we have received some of that information, but in this particular case, I haven't had a chance to review that material with our city attorney. And so this is the first time our city attorney will be going through this process with a plat. That would conclude the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Schnobrick.
So it's a public hearing.
Yes, it is a public hearing. Would anyone care to be heard?
Not hearing any. I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing and offer a resolution. Waive the reading, approving with conditions the final plot of Milford Heights, 6th edition, generally located at 648 to 685 Haberly Avenue.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion is carried. Item number 3.1, B&L Bar Alley closure, class reunion.
I don't see a concern here, so I'm going to offer the resolution, waive the reading to temporarily close the alley adjacent to the B&L bar beginning at 5 p.m. Friday, August 26th, and until 1 a.m. on Sunday, August 28th for a class reunion party, and authorize the extension of the B&L bar license into the closed alley area on the requested date subject to the conditions listed. And that includes a traffic barrier on each end of the closed alley, that the B&L bar does not block access or egress of the business adjacent to the alley, and that the alley be cleaned of equipment and debris prior to reopening.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion is carried. Item number 3.2, temporary liquor license for New Ulm Area Chamber of Commerce.
Motion to approve the issuance of a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the New Ulm Area Chamber of Commerce to serve and consume alcohol during Oktoberfest, located at the corner of Center and Minnesota Streets, north and south sides of the Center Street, to Broadway Street on Saturday, October 8th, 2022, subject to compliance with all city and state requirements.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Item number 4.1, summary of business conducted during board and commission meetings. Any updates?
I can start down on this end. Our cable meeting did not meet. We didn't have enough agenda items. EDA did meet last week and approved the purchase of Upper Midwest Management Building for a future daycare pod system that we've talked about previously. So that's moving along. I'll let our president pick up anything else I missed from that meeting. I think that was like the main thing, but
The daycare is kind of the
overtook
main
the meeting,
thing
yeah.
there, yeah.
yeah, that's all I have.
And just a lot of interest in the new business grants, and some of the
Yeah.
other programs are, still have some funds available, so.
Heritage Preservation held their meeting last night. They did approve the total upper-level window replacement for the Kaiserhof, both buildings. And I was not here to report on the July meeting for the Heritage Preservation, probably the first time ever. I've been on the board for over 16 years. The HPC actually ordered a business to remove a sign that was on Main Street. I'm not even going to bring up the location, but they were given the option. It was put up without a permit, without any HPC approval. They were given the option to come back to HPC, get it approved. They'll be eligible for the grant reimbursement and a sign permit. Okay, Park and Rec meeting, a lot of discussion. They did recommend forwarding us their proposed 2023 budget and also the 2023 proposed fee schedule. I do want to touch, all the counselors are aware, the Cottonwood Park issue was discussed a lot. I mean, since the last time it was brought to the Park and Rec, another lot was sold of those 3 tax forfeited ones. So we took that off the table. It's a Band-Aid fix for the small lot out there creating a park. The DNR grant, we're kind of still on hold, correct, Tom? And then one other item that was brought up was the Lorraine Crawl Trust Fund for the agricultural property out there. There was a lot of discussion on it. The board recommended we'll just table it for right now because the comprehensive plan is just starting. We don't want to buy a piece of property out there where we have to design a comprehensive plan around the parcel that we bought, so that is on hold. That's it.
Oh, Terry.
I was contacted by the Human Rights Commission about some inappropriate flags and signage at one of the Kearney vendor spots, and I went out to look at it and it was taken care of. It was a Confederate flag and this crazy Brandon flag thing. There's been some cancellations on the Human Rights Commission, and I found 2 good people just today that are willing to serve. So I think they'll be approved at our next meeting. I hope they will be.
Thank you, Mayor.
I just attended last Wednesday. We had the open house for the comprehensive plan. We had 26 people attend the meeting, and it went very well, and that was held at New Ulm Middle School from 4:30 to 6:30.
That was a good meeting amongst the community and business leaders. It was nice to see people kind of working together. We had a Brown County Solid Waste Commission meeting last night too. Their scale house is almost complete. Just working on plumbing and electrical to the new scale house. Scale is installed. New roads are underway. There may be a slight increase in recycling coming in the next year's budget to the county. So just a very slight to keep them in the positive. So that's all the report on that.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5.1, City Charter Commission recommendations and amending home charter rule.
All right. Council President, Councilors, before you have the recommendations from the Charter Commission for your first consideration and then to set the public hearing on September 6th. There were only about 6 sections that were amended. The first one was putting in which department heads that the city council will be in charge of approving. The next one was the incompatible office ordinance. So that would alleviate some of the issues that we've had before with counselors having significant others or kids working in the city. Then we put together a conflict of interest. So that would, go back to recusing yourself and announcing conflicts of interest within decisions that you make as a council, because we previously didn't have one. We had one for employees, but not for city council. Then we looked at changing resolutions. So now we don't have to say offer a resolution. We can just,
I've been asking for
Yeah.
that for so long. Remember how we always say we got to waive the reading? We won't have to say that anymore. Small, but
Efficient.
yep. And then there was just small language change under budget. It'll be on or before the last regular meeting in September. Was kind of the budget change there. And then the last one was a repeal of Section 214A and replacing it with liens for unpaid utilities. So those are the 6 sections that we're asking for consideration, for your first consideration tonight.
I
And
think
I-
we should go into a little more detail on the nepotism section, just because that's been such a big thing for a year or two. Do we want to maybe just have our city attorney, or do we want,
I mean, I can read it in.
you
if
want to read it
if
just
if
to?
you read it in.
I think we should. I think we should.
Okay. So how incompatible offices will now read will be neither the mayor nor any member of the city council or public utilities commission, a local official, shall hold any paid municipal office or employment under the city. And until 1 year after the expiration of that person's term of office, such former official may not be appointed to any paid office or employment under the city that was created during the person's term or the compensation for which was increased during said term. Nor shall they influence or attempt, so this is the new language that'll be in there, nor shall they influence or attempt to influence the hiring, transfer, suspension, promotion, discharge, reward, discipline, or the adjustment of grievances of any related person. Related person shall mean a person in a marital relationship, a domestic partner relationship, or other committed relationships with a local official, or in a significant familial relationship with a local official. Significant familial relationship means by blood or adoption, parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, half-brother, half-sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, first cousin. 2, by marriage, husband, wife, step-parent, stepchild, stepbrother, stepsister, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece. Divorce or death of a spouse terminates a significant familial relationship by marriage.
So that would mean like no part-time work, no children working at Park and Rec, that kind of stuff. That's
So that
what
would be-
lays that out.
So that would be direct supervision. So you as counselors do not have direct supervision of the staff. That would be me. The only thing you couldn't do was appoint a significant other to one of the department heads that has been laid out, because you would directly influence that. And then when it comes down to discipline, that would be in charge of HR, would be disciplining those employees and not bringing it to council.
I don't see it reading that way, though. I don't know, maybe I'm missing it.
Robert, do you want to chime in?
Yes, just give me a second to follow along here.
I had to bring it up, didn't I?
Well, no, this is an important one to go
It
through.
is. We
you
spent a
know?
lot of time on
I
it.
mean, they updated the language. I'm not seeing where it just says that,
Direct supervision.
Well, I'm reading now in section 24, what we're what the proposed language would prohibit would be the appointment of any, well, hold on a second, sorry.
I read
Okay, so up until, so when a official leaves office for a year thereafter, the former official could not be appointed to any paid office or employment under the city that was created while that person was in office. And it also then says the new language, nor shall they influence or attempt to influence the hiring, transfer, suspension, promotion, discharge, reward, discipline, or the adjustment of grievances of a related person. So in my reading, the official, if the official is not involved in a city hiring decision for a related person, they would be in compliance with this section. They cannot influence such appointment or personnel action. And I think the only way they would be directly influencing it
Okay, I see it.
in the ordinary course of business would be to vote on an appointment for a department director.
I mean, a comment I'm going to make that Counselor Schultz and myself were on this commission. There was a lot of time spent. And in today's world, we all realize we can't write it perfect. We compared numerous cities. They were all over the board. We had nothing to really pull out of there. This sounds good for New Ulm. I mean, I want to thank the Charter Commission. A lot of time was spent on it. It was agreed on, and hopefully we do the first reading tonight and adopt.
Perfect. Is there any others we feel worth going into today?
If there isn't, I'll receive and conduct the first consideration of the city charter amendment of ordinances in addition to setting the public hearing date for Tuesday, September 6, 2022, and directing public notice of the hearing be published pursuant to the statutory requirements.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Thanks again to the entire Charter Commission.
Yeah, I'd like to make that note. We had, what, 6 meetings, you said?
Yeah.
And they all worked hard, and they took this very seriously and gave up of their time to put this together, so thank you to all of them.
Yes, thank you. Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Item number 6.1, Herman Monument Repair Update.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department, President Betker and counselors. Other than the information you have in the packet here, this is just a reminder that we're still working on the repairs at Herman Monument. You've received earlier this year a couple of detailed, extensive reports. And now that renew is complete, the renew projects that have taken quite a number of years, staff is going to have more time to devote towards the repairs and replacement of Herman Monument. And we will be meeting, with the Minnesota Historical Society to prepare, the plans and the direction moving forward with that. Obviously, the city owns the monument and manages and maintains the monument, but we do want to partner with our state and federal partners when it comes to repairing, replacing, and restoring the monument. We'll certainly be going after some significant grants to assist with that funding. You see some estimated price tags in the action form of $6 million back in 2019. And I think we all know what's happened to the cost of construction in the past few years. So that's kind of the report to just remind you what we're moving forward on.
Thank you, Mr. Schmitz.
And then I would like to add, the power washing for the monument has been completed, so it should be nice and clean now.
Stick, yes. Looks
I
good.
didn't know that. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
So we finally went out, doing all the testing, there's really nothing we could do by introducing more water to the system. So we were finally able to go out and power wash. It took about a week to go out and do that. And they did use some
How
acid.
did that react with the mold?
It's pretty much gone.
Yes, I can address that, President Betker and counselors. We did apply a light treatment of muriatic acid and then power washed it, sprayed it off with, pressure water. It took 2 staff members almost a full week So that is nearly 80 person hours to hose it off, wash it off, and it looks much better now. This was decades of dirt. Mold and mildew built up. You know, we recently had to clean our water tower out by the airport, and that's just what we basically did now here for the monument, to make it look better, more presentable. But that's not really related to the repair, reconstruction, restoration phase that may take us the upcoming decade to work through.
I was the one that asked to put this on the agenda because I just, it's up in my area and I get a lot of questions and people stop me and I'm so glad to hear that we have taken care of the mold because that was probably the number one complaint and for some people it was embarrassing and people are coming to our community and it looks terrible and then we had, how long was this process gonna take? Is it gonna take 10 years before we can get rid of the mold? I was like, oh, and I was even gonna ask if we could build something to put around it. Anyway, I'm really glad to hear that. Talk to me more about have we submitted anything to the state asking for funds?
No, we have not worked on funding mechanisms yet. We're still working on the plan. You know, the city, we feel strongly that the way to proceed is to disassemble, deconstruct and disassemble the entire monument. The statue at top is probably fine. You know, we would bring the statue down, keep that on public display, and then disassemble everything below Herman's feet. And document that disassembly architecturally so that we can create blueprints and construction documents to reassemble it with like materials, you know, limestone still available, steel, granite, brick, mortar, and so on. So that's what we feel is necessary here locally, and we're working with the State Historical Society to determine if that's acceptable to them.
So at the end of the day, will the statute basically be looking exactly like it is now?
Yes.
Just in a new format? So we're not
Yes.
looking at a total new base and a new look?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. I mean, we feel the gunite that was sprayed on decades ago around the base, around the limestone, has caused some problems over the decades, and that limestone has degraded. We'd like to replace it with new quarried limestone.
I'm just gonna
Oh, yeah, bump in there.
touch a little bit on that, being very familiar with the state, I won't say historical society. We're gonna hit a lot of road snags with Herman Monument, and I do want, one of the topics that came up with the 50-year rule with the state of Minnesota, if Elwood or Tom wants to comment on, is the gunite on there now historical and it has to remain gunite? We're in for a lot of road snags and reports and whatnot. Realistically, at least 10 years out, right, Tom? Before
Well,
this
that's-
thing actually.
That's a projected timeline we have in the action form here. But really, it's all dependent upon how we work with the state and how the state works with us and how we can fund the various phases. You know, from deconstruction to planning and then to reconstruction, so.
So the general public knows, staff has spent countless hours, the building department, the park department, it's being worked on, it's not being overlooked. So they're aware of that.
When do you guys think you might start writing grants?
Well, we're gonna spend the winter, in the upcoming autumn and winter, discussing the process with the state of Minnesota. The process of simply how do we proceed? What are these various phases and stages? And then there will be funding mechanisms that, you know, will need to come together for those various stages and phases, including, you know, the plan making, the blueprints, the construction documents, and so on.
The other thing, I've heard of is that locally that we probably need to fundraise because we're certainly not going to get the 6 million or 9 million that we're probably really looking at. And that's going to be a huge undertaking. We do have a Herman Monument Society that wants to help with that process, obviously, and get this moving. So you have some information in here about how that group could get going on that process and start fundraising. I mean, why not?
Yes, I mean, we've established a fund now, and we put the city put $100,000 into that fund in the '22 budget you'll see in the work session tonight that we have recommended at least an additional $100,000 be placed from the city into the '23 budget. And then we will be going after donations, just as we did the amphitheater, the Performing Arts Center in German Park took 15 years to plan, design, and fundraise. I'm hoping that Herman doesn't take that long, but there's going to be an opportunity for individuals to donate, $50, $100 into this account. And then the 20-some service organizations in town, the New Almeria Foundation, there's going to be many opportunities for private partnerships into that fund, along with city dollars and grants, significant grants, hopefully from the state and federal governments. I know that our state senator and representative have both stated on record that they're willing to assist with that from a state standpoint when it comes to financing in a bonding bill or special appropriation bill.
My last question, Tom, is so the other people that have talked to me about this said, would this be a good time? We don't sell the trinkets up there that everybody wants when they go to an historical area, the little Herman bobbleheads and whatever. And would this be we have a little building that's 3 feet by 6 feet. And would this be an opportunity to design something a little larger to sell more of that stuff and help repay some of this debt?
Certainly. I mean, merchandising can certainly be a part of our plan, our picture. We still have the penny pincher where you can make 4 separate individual
There you go.
crushed pennies with, I think it's still 3 quarters. We should up that to 6 quarters to pinch 1 penny.
All right, good. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much. I'm really glad we're getting started.
Thank you for the update. We don't need to take any action on this, so we're going to move on to item number 7.1, land sale to Hope Housing Foundation.
Council President, councilors, before you have a request from Hope Housing Foundation. At your last meeting, you did authorize the sale of a portion of Outlot B for $2,500. And when they were out looking at the property, looking at the grading, the engineer that was out there said, hey, it would probably be better if you were able to just get the entire lot, make the grading a little bit better out there. So they did approach us to purchase the rest of Outlot B. They're looking at purchasing Outlot B for $3,700. It's the additional 9,354 square feet. And the reason that the price is slightly reduced is they are going to give us a portion of their 6-acre property so we can continue Ryan Road through. So that's part of the package. And then they will also be putting in the sidewalks along Maplewood, so we don't have to put those in and then assess them later. So that's why there is a reduced price for this lot. The property has no defined purpose and isn't required for any current or future city purpose. Talked with the PUC, they had no use for that lot as well. The sale would allow for additional twin homes to be built, and we feel this is a reasonable price given they're going to do a partial land swap so we can continue Ryan Road, and they're going to be putting in the sidewalks.
Thank you, Chris.
I have one question, not really pertaining to it. We're still looking at maybe fall start for construction?
Yes.
Good.
Chris, would you maybe touch base? What would be the first phase for the housing?
They're going to attempt to do everything all at the same time, but I think, and Wendy is here, but I think they're going to attempt to at least get 41 of the residential towers up and running by the fall of '23. Okay, perfect. Yep.
Start this fall.
Yep.
Start on that.
So,
So if I'm hearing correctly, we'll start with the townhomes, if what she just said. Duplexes.
duplexes, yep.
Okay.
I think it seems like a pretty reasonable trade-off with the sidewalks and road being gone through. So I will offer the resolution, waive the reading, authorizing with conditions the sale of property legally described as Outlot B, except the east 30 feet Maplewood Drive, first edition to Hope Housing Foundation for $3,700.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion is carried. Item number 7.2, development agreement with Black Frost Properties LLC and Black Frost Distilling LLC.
President, members of the City Council, this matter is associated with the establishment of a tax abatement program for Black Frost. The City Council, at its last meeting, conducted a public hearing on the request of Black Frost to establish a tax abatement program. And following the public hearing, the council approved that action. The development agreement covers issues associated with the renovation of an existing building, as well as the use of tax abatement to pay for eligible project costs. The development agreement has been reviewed by both the city's consultant, our city attorney, as well as a representative of Black Frost. The approval of the development agreement will support a new business. Tax abatement is an established Minnesota program that promotes economic development. As with other development agreements, the staff and city attorney would request authorization to further refine as needed any final language and exhibits associated with the development agreement. That would conclude the staff report.
It appears the city attorney's also reviewed this, so I'm going to go ahead and offer a resolution, waive the reading, approving a development agreement with Black Frost Properties LLC for a tax abatement program at 201 First North Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz? Yes. Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion is carried. Item number 8.1, Canvas 22, municipal primary election, and declare results of the election.
Counselors, the results of the mayoral primary that was conducted last Tuesday. Jeff Keeker received 160 votes. Ron Weniger received 665 votes. Kathleen Backer received 1,655 votes. Mark Rutz received 80 votes, and Lonnie Lipke received 124 votes. So Ron Weniger and Kathleen Backer will go on to the general election in November.
Thank you. Do we need any council action on
To
this?
approve the
Yes. All right, then we'll need a
I'm
motion.
going to offer a motion to approve the canvassing of the 2022 municipal primary election and declare the results of the election as
Second.
stated.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 8.2, set the public hearing on the 2023 MSAS Improvement Project.
Madam President, City Councilors, this is the next step for the project delivery of the 2023 MSAS Improvement Project. So, as a reminder, this project includes the mill and overlay of North Highland Avenue from Oak Street to US Highway 14, and the full-depth reclamation of North Broadway from 20th North Street to the new CASA 13 / North Highland Avenue. City of New Ulm has been programmed for 2023 STP small urban funding in the amount of $946,203, and the total estimated project cost is just over $2 million. The remaining project cost would be funded with MSAS fund balance funding. Right now, we're just asking to set the public hearing for September 20th.
I'll offer a motion to set that public hearing date for Tuesday, September 20th, 4:30 PM.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Item number 8.3, annexation petition for property generally located at 1800 North Highland Avenue.
Members of the City Council, the annexation petition has been submitted by Elvin Johnson, who is CEO of Hope Housing Foundation. The foundation is the owner of HHF Dreamville New Ulm LLC, and they are the owners of the property. property totals 6 acres and is currently located in Milford Township. Property has been farmed in the past. The property abuts the city limits and is within the area subject to our orderly annexation agreement with Milford Township. Residential development is located to the north of the property and is planned for the east and south sides of the property. The property would be annexed as an A-OS district, that's agricultural open space. The petitioner has requested a planned unit development zoning designation for the property, and the Planning Commission will conduct a public hearing on that request at their August 25th meeting. A mixed-use residential project is proposed for the property. Reasons for approving this request are that the property abuts the city limits and can be served with municipal utilities. The property should be annexed into the city in order to facilitate its development. And finally, the property is located within the boundaries of the orderly annexation agreement area with Milford Township. That would conclude the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Schnurbeck.
I do have one question, Dave. I mean, with the new zoning ordinance, okay, that is, in the old ordinance, would we have done that same thing, zoning it in as agricultural to start?
Well, in this particular case, the proposed land use,
Right.
the combination of this mix of residential units is what requires the planned unit development designation. We do not have a zoning district that would accommodate all of the types of housing that's proposed there.
Okay.
They would like to do twin homes, some townhomes, and apartments. We don't have a
A
district
mixed-use
that has all of
occupancy.
those.
Got it. Thank you. I mean, I like the idea. I'll offer a resolution, waive the reading, approving the annexation of the property legally described on Exhibit Number 1 and generally located at 1800 North Highland Avenue.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Welcome into the city.
Right. Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker?
Yes, that motion carries. Item number 8.4, Development Agreement with SP Development LLC.
Madam President, members of the City Council, so this action is associated with the public hearing that was conducted at the start of the meeting. The plat name is Milford Heights 6th Edition. The development agreement covers issues associated with the construction and use of the property for residential purposes. S&P Development is owned by Alan Paler and Mark Schaefer. They also have developed other property in this particular area. Matter of fact, we approved a development agreement with them for another parcel of property within the past year. Plat will have 14 lots. This is for single-family dwellings. The project will include the construction of a public street as well as drainage and utility improvements, and will eventually be owned by the city. It is the developer's intent to do the construction themselves, and they hope to start yet this fall. Entry into the development agreement will allow the developer to proceed with construction of new residential units. The agreement authorizes the developer to install the public utilities and street improvements to serve the project area. And as with other development agreements, the staff and city attorney's office request authorization to further refine as needed final language and exhibits associated with the agreement. And I might note that the agreement has been reviewed with the city attorney, and he has approved it. That would conclude the staff report.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to offer the resolution, waive the reading, approving the development agreement with S&P Development LLC for the property legally described on the attached Exhibit A and located at 648 to 685 Haverly Avenue, and authorize the city manager and finance director to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion carries. Item number 8.5, special assessment interest rate for projects financed by 2022 bonds.
Counselors, this is an annual item that we do once the bonds have been sold for the year. We generally take the true interest rate from the sale of the bonds, which was 2.33% this year, and add about 2% or somewhere in that ballpark to that, to set the interest rate for any assessments done with those bonded projects. So we are suggesting or recommending that we set that rate at 4.25% for 2022.
And what were we last year?
Last year was much lower. Our interest rate was definitely, it was a better market. We set the rate at 2.6 last year. Our bond rate was
everything else.
0.71.
Yeah, I was going
Yeah.
to say it was below 1%, so last year, and what are we at, 2 and
2.33,
Yep.
which is the highest it's been since 2018.
You know what? Everything. Mortgage rates, everything. I mean, this is,
I'll offer the resolution. We don't have a choice. Offer the resolution to waive the reading to setting an interest rate of 4.25% for special assessments levied for projects financed by general obligation, permanent improvement, revolving fund bonds, Series 2022.
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion carries. Item number 8.6, first consideration of ordinance amending Section 5 of the City Code.
Counselors, I thought we were done amending the liquor ordinances, but we found there was one thing we missed with the state changes, and it just takes away, before people were limited on how many temporary licenses they could get within a 30-day period, that limit has gone away.
Okay.
So we just need to update our ordinance as well.
I'll make the motion to conduct the first consideration of ordinance for the city of New Ulm, Brown County, Minnesota, amending Chapter 5 of the City Code, removing the limit of one temporary license in a 30-day period.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Item number 8.7, consideration of emergency ordinance 2022-057, temporarily regulating the sale of THC cannabinoid products.
So on July 1st, recently enacted amendment to Minnesota State Statute 15172 took effect and resulted in the legalization of edible cannabinoid products as defined therein. Section 66 of the city charter requires two separate considerations of ordinances and go into effect 30 days after their passage, approval, and publication, and that would be for non-emergencies. Section 67 of the charter authorizes the city council to adopt emergency ordinances for the immediate preservation of public peace, health, and safety. And so we're asking to do an emergency ordinance. And what this ordinance would do, it will allow, it will require individuals/businesses to provide written notice of their intent to sell the products to the finance director. Products will need to be kept behind a counter and only accessible to customers by requesting the item from an employee of the business. Sales can only be made to individuals over the age of 21. The emergency ordinance will be in effect until the effective date of non-emergency ordinance regulating such products. So this will give us time to look at what we want to do, licensing moving forward, but this kind of sets rules in place that they have to follow and lets us know who is currently interested in selling the products in the city. So it sets up general guidelines.
Chris, does the emergency ordinance last a given amount of time?
Robert, it's 60 days, correct?
Actually, under New Ulm's charter, there is no set time frame. So the expectation is this is going to be for a short interim period of time, just until the permanent licensing ordinance takes effect. But no, there's not a specific sunset date.
Limiting how many licenses we give for
That would be-
sales?
That would be up to you as the council when we go through
Future.
the licensing portion of it. So we'll probably have another work session when we come up kind of with what we would like to do and then ask those questions.
Okay.
More looking forward to as you follow the paper and the League of Minnesota Cities website. All cities are doing this. It's all over the board what they're going to do, just to see what other cities are doing.
Yeah, putting moratorium, it doesn't help us at this point, so let's just get something in order. But, do you have something?
Chris, are we aware of anybody selling these products already within our community?
The only one that I know for sure is the smoke shop on the south end of town by Hy-Vee.
Okay.
And it'll be their responsibility to report to city?
Yeah, and
Okay.
we can reach out to them because
Okay.
we know that they're doing that. So we'll have myself or
Be my
Heather reach
question,
out.
if we were going to reach out to those that we think might sell, so they know this is happening.
Yep.
So they don't go off and buy a whole ton of product, and now they got a problem. So,
Basically, when we adopt this here tonight, within 30 days, this is effect, and then they'll have to come forward.
It's
It's-
effective
Or
immediately.
this one's effective immediately then.
Yeah, just
yeah.
putting in place that they need to,
Yeah,
kind
'cause
of
all we're asking them to do, it requires them to just tell us they're selling the products.
Okay.
And then a couple guidelines, just like cigarettes, behind the counter, has to be someone, 21 over the age of 21, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion to conduct the consideration and adoption of emergency ordinance number 2022-057, temporarily regulating the sale of THC cannabinoid products.
Second.
motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. Item number 8.8, donation to fire department.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading to accept the donation of a recliner, TV stand, 2 end tables, and 3 lamps from the New Ulm Furniture, have an approximate value of $2,000.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz? Yes. Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker?
Motion is carried. With no additional business, this meeting will be adjourned. We will be moving into a work session shortly to discuss the budget and Airbnb.